Yeah, Mother Blinken, yes. Hello, folks. The next person we have on is I consider them a personal rival in all the respectful ways, and is the voice, great voice, intelligent mind. Not perfect, but none of us are. But the next person is a great, great podcaster, and it's an honor to have him on. Let's welcome SouthOzMan.
Thank you, Rico. Thank you. How are you, mate? Am I coming through okay? Hey, Rico. Am I coming through okay there?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Oh, nice. Nice. Hey,
SouthOzMan, have you ever heard of the book The Alchemist?
Yes.
Have you ever read it or heard the audiobook?
I think I've heard the audio book. I don't think I've actually read it. I've got the book actually in PDF. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love this. Is one of my favorite audiobooks. I have never read the physical book, but I've listened to the audiobook like 50 times.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, very interesting.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I want to get a couple excerpts from it, like a couple chapters out of that audiobook and play them for people because there's some amazing words in that.
We underestimate mercury, man, especially, like in the liquid form and the red mercury. There's a lot of things of anti-gravity movements with mercury, and it's not as poisonous as it's made out to be. I've got a documentary of a guy actually drinking, believe it or not, liquid mercury. Yeah.
Huh. I'm sure if you did it the right way, I'm sure it would be fine.
Do you know if you put a lathe, you know those ones that you have got when you do your horseshoes and shit like that? If you fill a big, say a rubbish bin or whatever, or a little garbage bin with liquid mercury and put that in, it'll float.
It's interesting talking about that. That is a beautiful element there. Is mercury an element or?
I think it is on the periodic scale. I reckon it is.
Because liquid metal is a beautiful concept we're talking here. Or maybe is it a just not so dense metal, liquid metal, or is it airy metal, or is it not even metal?
I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you reckon, Chris? What would you call it?
I'm sorry. Could you speak up, SouthOzMan?
What would you call liquid mercury? Is that a metal or an element, or?
It is a metal, but it's also an element. It's both.
Yeah. Is that any better that I'm coming through talking louder?
Well, I turn up my volume to maximum. Yes, it is. I've been reading your podcast. I only caught one of Freddie Silva before, but the one that you found, I found one with what was his name? George Norrie, I think, and who is Coast to Coast AM radio. But you found one that is just fascinating, and it's much better. I'm sure you've listened to all the ones that you've uploaded for the audience to download, and I'm still listening. I'm already halfway through it, but I read two other ones, and they're just strictly somehow you were able to capture the best ones out there, so I share them to my buddies. The other thing is what's his name? The other podcaster that I work with, Raccoon and I do one on Thursday with Lawrence of The World Gone Mad, and that's fine. We're talking about survival preparation techniques, and I'm going over the 35 critical spices that we've been trained from day one to believe that they were strictly for flavoring to enhance the food's taste, yet they were been used for thousands of years as preparation of food for when we did not have a refrigeration. So basically, what the deep state is trying to do is not only freeze us to death in Western and Eastern Europe and Soviet states, but they cut the Nord Stream 1 in that went from went from Russia to Germany in the Baltic, and then the lower one went through Turkey into the Bosphorus Strait, and both were blown up. I personally believe, knowing how evil the United States government is, this was a connection between Great Britain and the United States, because they have always
Yes.
worked hand in hand in every war that has ever been
Yeah,
created.
the United States had its fingerprints all over that attack.
Which one did? Sorry.
The United States had its fingerprints all over that attack of the pipeline.
Right, but I lived in Europe for 4 years. I never got to your country, but I got the exposure of how beautiful every country is. And
It wasn't Russia that done it.
no,
Russia
they're not
did
going to
not
blow up their own
sabotage their own
pipeline.
bloody pipelines. That's
It was
what
probably
Germany's
Germany,
done.
if
I
anything.
know, but this is such
No, it
propaganda
wasn't Germany.
that the media is expounding,
She
and
said,
every
"No,
one of our
not
media
Germany."
stations in the United States are so controlled by the deep state that the public doesn't know what to believe, and so.
They want to take down Europe.
Oh, you bet they're gonna take out Eastern and Western Europe and the British
Yep.
Isles, and this is gonna go
Well,
down.
I talked to a man from Birmingham like a couple years ago, but he was mentioning how he like something he noticed wrong. He's like, London was a shithole, and I was like, what do you mean London's a shithole now? Because he was like, everyone knows that London was the spot, right? Like London fashion, London this, London that. Well, this British guy told me that the big problem with that's happening over there, and I think this is going to be a main problem that they're going to run into, just like the United States of America, is the over diversification.
Yep. Islam's taken over freaking London, man.
Oh, I agree. And the most prominent one, South Osmond, from Birmingham is Caps Damien. Okay, and that's him. I
I
did
didn't know
my
that was his
first
real
show
name.
that I gave.
That's Cap's name. That's funny.
Well, yeah, it's not important. Just call him Caps, KPZ. But I
That's what I
did
was talking about. That I
right.
was talking about London with.
That's what I'm saying. That is Caps. And he has turned around. He's now in favor and backing me 110%. So is Shep. So is
But let's continue on this over diversification thing real quick though.
okay.
It's very interesting.
All right, go ahead.
So it's very interesting that Muslims, let's say SouthOzMan mentioned that Muslims are going to take over. It's very fascinating. It's very fascinating moving someone into that, moving somewhere. I think it's a very interesting concept. One thing I like a lot of people forget about United States is our ancestral African slave population. We might be over diversified with Asians and Muslims and Russians and whatever, every fucking country, right, in the United States. But there's a couple clans in the United States that cannot be really messed with, which hold us down, which does not let us get over diversified, which is the black people, African Americans, and then I think they're really powerful. They are super powerful, and it might be from slave breeding, it might be from who knows what, but they
White
are very.
nationalism or patriots of America would take over the BLM movement in a second if it went to that.
Agreed. And the Atifa.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's
But
an interesting race we have.
They
Like
tried
Australians, you have
something like that on
Australians.
the scale, they'd just be wiped out within no time, mate.
well, agreed. I did my
Kill
first
people.
podcast that I gave you advance notice of with Dennis Barker today, Saturday, and I went well. So we did that from 12 to 1:30, and we'll keep ours at 1 hour and 15 minutes or 1 hour and 30, because as we've discussed before, the attention span of the audience is basically 1 hour, and that's what Jeff Shepard, when I did his for a year, realized, and that's why we cut ours from 2 hours down to one and a half, and then occasionally 1 hour. But yes, anyway, I was just letting you know, we'll be doing this on a regular basis. This is 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So Greenwich Meridian Time is 5 p.m. Okay, your turn, Osmond.
No, I'm fine. Did you want to bring up anything else?
I didn't want to be a little less serious though. Crystal Wilson loves your logo, like the three skeletons thing, and I never thought much of it. Not because I don't like it or nothing, but just because it's like, okay, that's his thing. And then I was looking at your profile picture.
I can explain it.
Well, yeah, let me just finish this little thought real quick, and then you can explain it. Well, I didn't even put this together here until right now. Is I actually have a tattoo on my body of three skeletons, and it's kind of like your profile picture. I never really noticed that until right now. Is because I have it on my body. It's one of them
You're breaking
is. Yeah, it's a don't. It's a hear no evil, see no evil, whatever the evil is,
Speak
and
no
it's
evil.
but it's the skeleton version. It's the so I have that. I actually have your little three skulls on me, tattooed on me.
Oh, that's a trip. Oh, good
It
stuff.
is a trip. It's cool. I'll have to send you a
All
picture.
right.
It's pretty tight.
Please go and explain yours, Osman.
Well, the whole reason of the skeletons, because obviously we know the monkey ones with the hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil,
Right.
is that because it gets me down beyond my skin level of straight to the bone, and it has nothing to do with gothic or anything like that. It's just that it's right to the core of the bone of I'm sick of talking about things because I'm sick of people not hearing the evil, seeing the evil, and etc. So that's the whole purpose of that. I could do the obvious three monkeys thing, but that's more deep to me than to be, I guess, on
I like
a
yours the
dark level.
best because it's always obvious. I recognize yours, and I can always come on because I reckon it's your logo has become an icon to the audience, and it's like name recognition, but it's icon recognition. Over.
Yeah, it's deeper than just looking dark because of skulls. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, hope that explained myself, Rico.
It's very interesting though. I'm really happy that I have the tattoo. It's really badass. I'm looking at it right now. I have the three skeletons, and they each are holding a knife. In my tattoo, they're each holding a knife, and so they're holding a knife up to each other. And one of them has a blindfold, and then one of them.
I'd love to
Let
see
me
it.
see.
Could you
Yeah, it's
post
pretty
it?
tight, man. I got it a long time ago. It's really one has a blindfold, and one is covering his ears, and then the one of them is covering the other
Yeah.
one's mouth.
Oh, show me. Yeah, show me, man. I'd love to
It's
see
freaking
it.
badass, dude. It's a cool tattoo, and
Whereabouts
mine
on
is a little less.
whereabouts on your body?
It's where my armpit is, pretty much, like right next to my pit, like
Oh
in the
yeah.
back of the arm.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice spot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Over
it's a
the
cool
chest would
spot,
look
man.
nice, just over your tits, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Something like that.
I have a skeleton on my chest too, or a skull at least.
Do you know what? I seen a really good one that goes around your actual nipple. Is it was on a lady, and it was the Grim Reaper, and it was like done in black, but real faint
Mm.
black, and it had the hand curve around the nipple. That was one of the most wickedest ones I've seen
Oh
on a
yeah, you
man.
gotta love the around the nipple tats.
Yeah, yeah, it's just something different. Yeah, a bit unique.
See, but the only thing that I run into a different thing with, as you mentioned it, is maybe you could shed some light on me. It's a subject that I've been soaring for many years, and it just doesn't quite add up to me. But I'm trying to stay open minded with it. Is this concept of evil? Like I have the three skeletons, but mine isn't hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. It's ain't saying shit, ain't heard shit, I ain't heard shit, I ain't seen shit, I ain't saying shit, basically. But not the hear no evil, because I don't really understand this concept of evil. Like when people say evil,
Well,
what
the
do you mean by
darkness.
evil?
We well, pedos, the Masons, what's running society at the moment, pretty much the evil.
Right.
We've had
I would
some
say that's
things in our
unhumanitarian,
face.
like very dishumanity, like very,
Well, it's still
very
evil.
abusive kind of nature. But is it evil though?
Well, if you're touching children, that's evil.
Right. It's very, very cruel. It's
Crashing a
very
wife, that's
non-human.
evil.
It's very bad to human. It's very, like, very, very destructive to human. But like, I don't know. Maybe I would look too deep into this term evil.
Well, if you're torturing people and stuff, would you call that evil? Like if you've got someone in your cell that you've kidnapped or something like that,
I would
that's
call that
evil.
fucking very, very. There's a lot of words I could use
Sacrificing
there.
children. There's
Right.
lots of
Exactly.
things that I
Very.
would
You could say
class as evil.
disgusting. You could say unfair. You could say morally wrong. You could say all kinds of terms, but the term evil just gets it's one of those words. I'm just trying to really truly understand it for myself here, because I guess there's different I guess context to the
I would
term evil
say
than to
the debauchery of society I would class as evil, pretty much.
yeah. I guess where I really get messed up is the connection between nature evil and then just human evil. Because I understand the human evil. You're right, like the child molesters, fucking mass concentration camps, like the governments. You could say very human on a human level, very evil. But on a natural scale, maybe not so much.
Exactly, I agree. Yeah, on a natural scale, it works on balance of what has to be done has to be done. That's right. Well, it might look evil to us. It's like when you go out and take a picture of a reindeer and you see a lion come. Do you save that reindeer that's now going to kill the cubs of that lion and take out the balance of nature, you can't call that evil. I just don't think
100%,
that's
100%.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I just always wanted, I always like to just remember that whenever I start talking about evil, I like the people I'm conversating with to understand what we're talking about and have a clear understanding of when we say evil that there's differences, and we're talking about like human evil, not just universal, natural, alchemic evil. We're talking about human evil.
Well, if someone messed around with your wife and at the spur of the moment you walked in on them and shot them, I wouldn't call that evil. I would just call that a natural response.
Revenge.
Yeah, payback's a bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so I respect that. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, human evil is an interesting one though, because it's also, it could get thrown around, and some people use it in a very, I would say, the term I'm looking for here is a very, when it's a hypocritical term. People can use it even, they seem to be very critical about their use of the term evil.
But you couldn't call their act evil if they were both engaged in the act. Really, you should just walk away and shake your head. But I mean, if someone was attacking your wife, of course, that would be classed as an evil act, and then you would take justice and kill them. Yeah, I shouldn't really put it firstly in the term of just walking in and your partner's cheating on you. I think that doesn't deserve annihilation. It deserves disrespect from there on. It's over. See you later and move on. Unfortunately, that we react as humans. First thing we want to do is just kill both of them, and that's what happens in those homicide sort of acts where he walks in and his missus is with a man, and instead of just saying, okay, well, you're a slag and you're this and that. Just
Some guys would care, and
and
some guys wouldn't care so much. That's the only bad thing about it, like weird thing.
Some
So it
people
depends
just
on your
don't.
temperament, I guess.
But it doesn't mean that they were evil. It just means that they were just sleazebags,
Well, so there's
But
a
if
difference there.
someone's
Like
attacking your
necessarily
wife,
not all
then
murder is
they're
evil.
evil.
Then
Yeah.
if
If you walked in and someone was raping your wife and you don't kill them right there and then, well, there's something wrong with you, I think.
right, unless you're just so timid and weak, but that doesn't necessarily make you evil either. If you're just a coward, it just means you're just unable to convict violence. Because I run into that sometimes. I'm very pacifist, like sometimes, and it's been something I've been overcoming throughout my like adult life. And I hate how fucking rational I was and how unwilling to accept to unleash violence. It just was like it was very unnatural to me. But I've had to force myself to be able to go ahead and just let it come out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I understand the person who doesn't want to hurt somebody else. Like, it's just some people are just very cowardly and timid, and some people would think it sucks. It's a weird trait.
If you've got a mate that cheated on your missus or something like that, a lot of the times it's probably more pride that you think you've got to go and do something pretty drastic to hold your ground, to hold your respect, so to speak.
I as I get older, I'm getting a bit more of that pride, that willing to fight for my pride. It's getting stronger as I get older, which is kind of a weird thing, because it was almost non-existent when I was younger, and it's interesting to see because for me, my thing is like I wasn't prideful. I wouldn't want to fight for my pride. I would always want to fight for self-defense before. Like you could go ahead and talk shit. I used to say you could talk shit, you could do whatever, but as long as you're not physically attacking me, I'm not gonna really trip. But now I do get a little more irritated when someone disrespects me. I do get a little more aggressive.
Age sort of heals that, I think. When you get about mid 40s, 50s, I think you start using more logic. And I used to be always about my hands. I was never verbal. Not that you know that now, Podbean and shit. But I was very didn't know how to express myself, so to speak. So I used to fight.
So how would you do it?
I'd fight. I'd pop you on the
See,
face.
I was the opposite. As I get older, I'm becoming less rational, and now I'm more willing for. But I think it's because I had to really gain a trust with my body and how much damage I could take, and really build myself up over the years. So now I'm like, okay, now I think I'm tough enough to do it. Like I always felt very insecure and fragile as I was younger.
I was quite tall anyway, and I just had martial arts since I remember, and that was just my life, mate. And I just fought.
Yeah, no, it's really jealous. I'm jealous. I really want to know. I want to knock somebody out. It's like one of my bucket list items. I just want to feel like have a feeling of putting someone's lights out.
Yeah, the problem is being tall, the people think they can take advantage of you. You think, tall might be a good aspect, but a lot of people think you're slower, and a lot of people are when they are taller. But
Right.
I've worked in Wing Chun and Wushu and all these other aspects of Kung Fu, so I was really, really quick for my height, which I would surprise the shit out of anyone if they seen me move. I'd look like someone that's 5'4" instead of 6'4".
Right. You're like a gazelle, just just
Yeah,
like a white-tailed deer in hunting season, just gone.
just speed, man. You can't touch nothing that you can't fucking see, can you? Really?
100%. I don't. I think that there's two things that tall guys get. It's one, they're slow, but let's say you're agile, right? Like Brock Lesnar. But there's another one. Maybe I'm curious on what you think about this. What about your stamina? Because some big thing about big guys is they're fast, they're powerful, but it seems that they run out of tank.
No, I've got heaps of that, man.
That's man. So you a powerhouse. You a bamf. You a badass
I used to
motherfucker.
ride bikes for miles as a kid. Used to play tennis. Used to freaking do every sport. Used to martial arts,
Well,
everything. So I've always had a high stamina.
yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So it's like you got the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And how about
And I'm
your penis?
creative
Is
in
it
it on
proportionate?
life as well. I've got everything, mate. It's amazing. My life actually. I've got
Do you have a
reasoning.
Rico, that's
member?
an inappropriate question. Don't even
No,
ask
I'm
that.
just wondering. We're talking about
No,
all the pros.
no,
You
you
know,
have an
tall guy.
audience. You have an audience. You don't ask that question.
What was the
Chris,
question?
Chris wasn't with the conversational refereeing here. Thank you, Chris.
That's
It
right.
was
I didn't
something
hear it.
personal and it should not be discussed on here.
Oh well, I'd say that anyway, Chris. That's all right. I just didn't hear it. Hey, welcome to the room, V.
I do not care. That's funny. Okay, everyone but me.
That's
That
fine.
was a good
That's fine.
question.
I just didn't hear the question. What was it? If I'm happy
It
to
was.
answer
I
it,
was
so
wondering if since you were a
If your
tall guy,
malehood was proportional to your height.
yes,
yes,
that's awesome. So
my
South
foot's
Osman is a
12.
badass guy, y'all.
My foot's 12 inches.
Mm.
So and my body's this and that. So obviously, yeah, it would make sense. I haven't got like
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why I was asking because
a
you
penis.
imagine if you just it was like the opposite and it's like it was just like for some reason you was just like what the hell?
Yeah, it'd be a bit of a misfit. Everything else seems to be in proportion, so I can't see why that area wouldn't
Right.
be either.
How old are you?
I'm 51.
Wow, you sound way young. You sound young. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm young at heart.
It's hard to
Very young
gauge.
at
Oh yeah, that's good.
heart.
That's good. That's a good expression.
Well, thank you very much for the conversation on good and evil here. I really respect that. So that's how I feel about it too. I think, or so it's not. I'm not clueless on it, but I don't use it. I don't really throw around the term too much, just because. But as I start to develop the dialogue, I could start using it more. But I'm probably gonna say human evil when I use it though, until I feel more comfortable.
That's fair enough. Osman, how are you enjoying your summer weather now?
Yeah, it's been quite actually a medium summer here. It's been quite nice this year. Yeah, I guess the solar minimum has proven that point, and no, it's been quite nice this summer. One of the best ones I can remember actually. Hasn't been too
So
bad. Only a couple of
so that's
flurries here and there. Yep.
as we continue, just I really haven't had a too deep conversation with you, so I'm enjoying this. But let me ask you this: you sound physically and mentally sharp, but so throughout your 50 years of life, have you developed this relationship with belief systems in placebo effects to self kind of concept, where you tell yourself certain things, or you use certain phrases, or you don't use certain phrases, or you refuse like self brainwashing in a sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speak on that. Speak on your relationship to belief systems
Well,
and your
my
own
belief
decision.
system. Yeah. I'll just crack a cold one, and I'll just let you into the conversation. Yeah, man. I fully believe in self gratitude, like giving gratitude to everything. I'm working on a belief system that you might get a grip of here, but it might be a little bit different to other people's. But I'm a big thing on gratitude, contacting the dead, and meditating on them, and giving them thanks as well.
Mm.
Giving thanks to everything, whether you take it from a tree. That is my spirituality, if you know what I mean.
What aspect in particular are contact with the dead? Just to because you can, or as a gratitude, like gratitude to the
No, I
previous.
don't even. I only get contact back through them through dreams, but I don't see or hear anything in the realm of when I'm meditating on it. I always meditate just before sleep. I always just do usually heart chakras and meditation,
Mm.
green chakras and blue up to my throat, and then go up to my pineal gland and stuff like that. So I've always been into that. I've got crystals and
Right. And so
all that
the
sort of stuff.
reason you would do that
Every
is because you
gemstone.
believe that that is going to benefit you and it keeps you powerful.
Well, I just like the connection with my past. I believe that our ancestors need to be appreciated and given thanks to, and that's why I do it. So I work on a spiritual level that way more than
Wow.
any other
That's
way.
very
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah,
That's a very fascinating take on
yeah.
human
I think it
life. Like,
keeps you
oh,
grounded. Yeah,
thank you for the ones who set this
yeah,
seed up for me, the one whose DNA I pull from,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
see, that's interesting. That's interesting because that means like you're going according to plan. Like they were there, they bred, and then you're born. I always looked at it a little different, not to disrespect the ancestors, but I almost feel like I, as a human, and this is it's not my permanent thing, but one of my main ones is I didn't ask to be here. So fair enough. Gratitude, thank you all the ancestors that were here before me, but at the same time,
I
it
mean,
wasn't a voluntary act. And so when you throw a human being
Rico,
into this,
Rico, if you look at you'd be fascinated if you went back to say 200 years, which I've done 300
mm,
years of your family tree. It
wow,
would explain a lot to you, and I have got so much that explains a lot of my childhood, even from army to archery. My great grandfather was, I didn't even know when only last year, that was celebrated in the streets coming back from the Second World War. He was actually stationed down here where I ended up. Believe it or
mm,
not, it's just incredible how where he lived and now where I live. His son was the same, everything like that. We go back to Sherwood Forest to the so-called the emblem of the bow and arrow, and I'm a pretty much master archer,
that's
if you want
amazing.
to call
I
that.
would love to talk to you more about
I'm a
archery as well.
speed archer as well, so I'm quite good at archery, man.
That's such a
And then I found
that looks like
that's
so
in
much
my
fun.
heritage. Yeah, yeah. And now I found out all these things. I used to play armies when I was only like 8 with my cousins. We used to have bomb shelters and everything, like with tin, and
Damn,
throw literal rocks and everything, bricks at each other, and
what the hell?
and shoot. We used to make up these little guns with a pipe and a rubber glove on the end, and put pellets in them and run around. And
Hell
then I
yeah.
found my whole ancestry had to do with war, and I'm also related to Ned Kelly, and I'm also related to Captain
Mm,
Thunderbolt, two famous bushrangers here in Australia.
that's
So I've got a
amazing.
very, very strong bloodline in
So you appreciate that.
anti-injustice.
You appreciate, and that
It's
makes more sense.
it
I
does,
don't
man. It
have
makes
much
you
of understanding of my ancestry, so
grounded.
maybe that's why I look at it like a
Look at it, man. You need to follow it, and you'll find a lot of traits in yourself. It's amazing,
Right.
mm,
Osman, I did that with my uncle did that, and he traced it back 400 years. And our family came over in like the 1630, and the Mayflower made many voyages, not one. But the point is, our ancestry goes back to Massachusetts, to Boston, and to northern Connecticut, and that all of ours were basically anything from militia to lawyers, I'm sorry, magistrates, to farmers throughout uh, the Boston area of Massachusetts and the uh, northern Connecticut. And that my great 13 generations grandfather was the first patriot that was killed in our Revolutionary War. And his name was Jason
Yeah.
Russell. We turned over the house in 1947 to the state of Massachusetts,
And look
and
at you. Look at
it
you now.
well, yeah, I did both. I worked for the military,
Exactly. You got bits
and
and pieces of all of it, haven't you? Yeah.
yeah,
And
well,
you're a garden man as well. You understand the crisis that's coming, and you're aware of that consciousness, and
right.
your military background as well. So yeah, it all makes sense, man.
But
mm.
it's fascinating because it's what is called the sons and daughters of revolution. But
I don't think I
history
was
had
in the military. I don't think I'm not sure exactly, but I don't. As far as I know, I don't have any. Definitely not U.S. military. My father was born in Mexico, so
Yeah, but
all
that
my
doesn't matter
ancestries
to
are
you,
from.
Rocco. You probably haven't, because look at you. That's what I'm saying. Look at your personality, your personality. Imagine if you knew that your most of your family were gypsies and just chilled out and that, which would explain you right now exactly how you are. It doesn't mean that you have to have military to be anything. It
No,
just
no, but at the same
explains who
time,
Right.
I've
you are.
definitely taken a reign as a individual with this life. Like I appreciate the ancestor stuff, but I've definitely taken this chance and ran with it. Like you can put life breath in you, like take control. Like I've definitely went my own path, and I'm definitely a mixed bucket because I'm very chill on all this, but I'm very competitive and I'm combative as well. Like I train for the wars. I'm not naturally as badass as you guys probably, but I hope to be just a force to be reckoned with. I hope to be a freak of nature in my deadliness.
What was natural? What was natural when you were, say, like 8 to 12? Was there something in you, Rico, that like, was it sports of some sort, or was it a musical instrument, like stuff like that? You'll probably find. I often find if you just deep back to where you had your little talents, that, well, where did that freaking come from? Not the soccer mums that just drag their kids down for soccer for the sake of it. You're this shit, but the stuff that you really wanted to go and do. Did you want to go and do soccer or football every Saturday or anything like that?
I say I was a little more learning. Like I was always interested in study, not necessarily for
Okay,
school
so
curriculum,
you
but
might have
in
philosophers, you
knowledge.
might have diplomats, you might have things like that in your family line that can explain that. That's what I'm saying. You often find that. It's amazing.
Yeah, and strategy and tactician. Like I've always been
Exactly.
attracted
Yeah,
to
you might have been
strategy and
officers in that
tactics.
regard too. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
Or scientists. You might have had scientists in your background that, or people that were working with medicines even, because you've got
Yeah,
that
like some kind of
phenomenon.
shamanistic, mystic
Yeah,
kind of.
shamanistic sort of stuff. Yeah, that would explain you as a free spirit that you are. Well, you said
Right,
you
just like a mastermind, self-proclaimed mastermind and
were.
poet, stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
South
There you
Osman.
go. Yeah, mate. Yep.
The one I mentioned to you on when we chatted before, she's in the audience right now. Uh,
Okay.
Rico, she doesn't know you. Rico, invite her onto the panel.
She doesn't know
Who did
me.
we chat about?
No,
I didn't
she
know
doesn't
we were
know
chatting
South
about her.
Osman.
Well,
I
she
didn't know
left.
we
She's not
chatted
in the chat
about.
anymore.
She's right here that I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah, she came in, but she just left.
Anyway, that's the one I was referencing.
Oh,
South. What kind of pound bow do you use? What pound bow?
well, I'll use I've got a 60 is my max. I've got an
Mm,
80 as well. That's way
wow.
too freaking powerful. Yeah, yeah. That'll take down two elephants. But me 60 is about the best because I can tune it down to a 50, and but it's a compound bow. I've got an old English. I've got just about every bow you can think of. But yeah, my compound bow is my rule. If the shit hit the fan, I had to go out and get a sheep. I'd take this beast with me, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a 60, but a 50. You'd be surprised. Like
60,
even a
60s,
30.
I heard pretty average for good, like a lot of pros, a lot of good archers use 60. I
Yeah, in a
but there's
compound.
eight. I heard a lot of good things about heavier bows too. That
Nah, not if they're not compound. Especially, they're a little bit overrated. I think if they're like a 30 or 40 pound just in a normal bow, you're better off just getting a 25 or a 30 at the most. Yeah, but if they're about 40 or 50 in a normal bow, the string's a lot thicker. It's harder to pull back. But compound bows at that level, definitely, you can't go wrong. And yeah, this thing will go through. Well, say you had three sheep in a line, this thing would go through all three of them pretty much within
yeah, that's amazing, bro.
20 to 50 meter distance.
Shit.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get my hands on some bow and arrow.
This is a
I want
beast.
to start hunting. I want to become an outdoorsman, but I wasn't really introduced to it too young. So it's like a later in life thing here now, and but it's
I
something I
also,
really am interested in.
there's another thing that I think is underestimated, and a lot of people can get that in countries like Australia here, we've got to watch what we can have, and I obviously can't disclose what I might have as well due to laws here, but there's a couple of little things you can actually use too. There's one called it's just virtually a spear rod, and you just tie some thick 20 80 pound fishing line on it, and you can use that as well for hunting. You can put a nice metal bar on the end. You can buy them for fishing, and you can also buy a fishing. What do you call it? I'd recommend this for people that can't get guns in their country. Is when you go spearfish, spear gun.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a spear gun. Someone turns up your door, they're breaking in, shove a spear gun straight in their gut, man.
Hell yeah. I'm a big fan of pocket sand. If you know, you just pocket sand.
Yeah.
Just a face full of sand, real quick.
SouthOzMan, memorize her name. Can't sleep 123. I'm very proud of her. And
yeah, she's from Western Australia. I know her.
I didn't think you would know her.
Yeah.
Unless you'd met her here. And anyway, yes, you're correct. She's from Perth. And
I should say, yeah.
Well, WA,
Her out at the moment.
Western Australia, but she's been on Rico's station since basically started 2.5 years ago. And I'd seen her name for like about a year, and then we connected about a couple months ago and through Rico. But it's basically she is very, very she's very, very athletic and very intelligent. And I was just surprised, and that's what I was referenced to in my notes, was that I couldn't believe, not couldn't believe. I was unaware of just I knew it's a much harder life in Australia than it is in North America, but that you have your culture has they're very strong-willed, they're very determined, and it's a much harder life. So they're used to this rough life, and they adapt very well. That was all. Over.
Yeah, does she know Chrissy from Australia as well?
It is possible. Yes, I think she's been on her podcast. There's another one from Victoria that is, her name is Cass, CASS.
Sorry, that's what I meant, Cass. Yeah.
Okay.
She's
Chrissy is from Texas.
Similar. Yeah. Cass and the other lady you mentioned sound very similar.
Chrissy is from.
No, Chrissy's from America.
She's from Texas. She's from Central Texas.
I mean Cass. Yeah.
All right. Cass, I've been in touch with for many months, and I've been trying to help her, and basically with issues that she's facing. Cass basically has an open heart, and she tries to help everyone, but it's been very detrimental to her personal health. And
yeah, I feel for Cass. Yeah,
but she does.
Cass, yeah.
You've known her for a while? Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. I have heard of ups and downs and shit and that, and yeah. I know it's she's in a bit of a rut there for sure, but she gets there. She gets there. She has her good days, and we like anyone. We have our bad days, but I try to avoid getting off.
What I was trying to explain, and I agree, not trying to interrupt you, but what I was trying to explain is the level of determination and maturity is it's far greater in the North America. Kids today, Generation X, they don't mature until starting at age 25 at earliest. And basically it'd almost be like 30.
True. I think that's a mass generalization right there.
No, I'm not trying to generalize. I'm basing it on the ones that I deal with in various podcasts. I've been on about 120. And what I've noticed is that it seems as though in general that they mature faster because it's a harsher life. This is my analogy, but it's just the one that is in Tasmania is Jelly 6, although I haven't seen her around for quite a few weeks. You should know her as well. She used to come on your show. Over.
Yeah, I have a good friend from that part of the world. His name is Age Mad. I don't know if you guys know Age Mad.
Yes, I do.
I think he's in New Zealand, Age.
That's possible. F1 Grid is in New Zealand.
Yeah, Age is in New Zealand.
I was able to get on
my show. He's one of my most loyal listeners, actually.
Who?
Age Mad.
Oh, mine too. Age Mad is great. Age Mad, he hangs in there for the crazy shit.
He's always there.
Yeah,
the other,
I love Age Mad.
Let me see. I was able to get onto a podcast, and he let me brief the entire time, and whatever subject he wanted. And I don't know if you ever heard of Liberty NZ, which stands for New Zealand.
Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah.
His name is Grant, Grant.
Grant. Yeah, I know Grant.
Okay.
Look how
That's the only
Chris
one.
Wilson is just giving away everybody's first names.
No, they give it
No,
on the
he
show.
says that. Yeah, he says that.
Chris
Okay.
Wilson, do you know my first name?
Yes, David.
Damn it, just giving it away. Chris Wilson's probably giving my name away to everybody.
What? I thought it would have been like a Rico or Rocco or something like that.
No, David it is.
David. Bloody hell. How you going, David?
Hey there, brother.
No, anyway, I was just saying, if you've ever listened to that show, to Liberty NZ, he's patriotic as well. So uh, he was trying to get me to come back, and I just haven't. He doesn't broadcast that often. I look for him, but he's got my email. I just haven't seen him around. But of course, everybody's got different schedules, different hours. Anyway, I do look for ones that on yours you're normally doing basically with Marie and your music, and then you do independent ones, open chat. But like I told you, I'm available whenever you want to go again, if you like that or not. Over.
No worries.
No, but I think it's fascinating that SouthOzMan is a bow hunter. That's freaking amazing. I haven't done it myself, but I listen to a lot of podcasts about hunting and about archery and stuff like this. So I'm very familiar with terminology, but I've yet to really get out there and get myself a bow and do any of that. But it's fingers crossed I get to fulfill all those desires. And
I only heard one of your names. I said you said you were a relative of Thunderbolt. Who was the other one, please?
Ned Kelly.
Nate Kelly. Okay.
Ned, Ned.
Okay. Kelly or Kelley. Either one. Okay. Got it.
Kellly. Ned
Got
Kelly.
it. What was Thunderbolt's first name or title?
I can't remember his name.
Okay, that's fine. That's enough to go with. Ned Kelly, rather. All right, go ahead.
Ned Kelly. They made a movie about him.
Okay.
The movie. Glenn Rowan.
All right, I'll look him up. I did find something interesting, but it's of my personal nature. When
if you like Tombstone, you probably like it.
Tombstone, okay. All right, I know that movie. While I was looking for my partner on newlifeaboard.com, Tony, he told me about where I talk about getting free movies like streaming, and he gave me one called Tubi, Tubi, and basically I found a series that was filmed with 2 Australians, 1 New Zealand, and 1 American, and it's called The Lost World, Sir Conan Arthur Doyle's, and it was made between 1999 and 2002. But I never saw it ever advertised in the United States. It's got the Australian one is his name is Will Snow, Snow. He's an Australian actor, and the other one is Catherine. What's her name? Catherine Blakely. Anyway, I just thought you might know those because they should be, I suspect, at least B-rated actors in Australia.
No, I only know Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek? No, this is The Lost World. I watched all episodes. You can see them, and there's like 20 for 1999, 24 for 2000, 24 again for or 20 again for 2001 to 2, but it came and went, and it's just odd that it was obviously played on some series on U.S. television, but I thought it might have also been played in Australia as well. That was all. Over.
Where you going, Rico?
It's very entertaining. It talk about that the plateau in Brazil is a lost world, and it's a different time zone. And it's fascinating. They can go back and forth in time as they're trying to get down from this gigantic plateau. And it's got like a vortex where you can change between. They went into the future and went into the past, like 100 years. Anyway, I enjoyed it. Over.
One thing that so this belief back to belief systems and stuff in the mind. This is a very fascinating concept because the self conversation, self talk, how the dialogue in to ourselves through our thoughts looks. I think that's a very interesting concept here on because we can verbalize out loud, but then there's also an inner dialogue. I'm very interested. So husband, how's your inner dialogue? Like, how do you talk to yourself? Are you kind to yourself? Do you challenge yourself? What's your inner dialogue as far as when people tell you something? Do you trust everything or do you not trust anything?
No, I don't trust my inner dialogue. I think a lot of my inner dialogue is my ego.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I work on that as a different aspect, as a split sort of personality. Like I see, we work on a spiritual being and a spiritual thing. This is why we can have out of body experiences and stuff like that. But then in our physical form, in our mental form, we've also got our normal pathways and thoughts. But a lot of them can be run by our ego. So it's it's a matter of putting the ego and then putting your own thoughts back into it as well. So it's a
100%,
balance.
100%.
I think a lot of our thoughts are from our ego, to be honest with you.
Yeah, in general, you could be right, but you're 100% right. There's definitely a dance there because I don't want to seem like, oh, like every thought runs everything because that's definitely, you're 100% right, where there's a lot of thoughts could be comparative thoughts, a lot of thoughts could be just recited thoughts, a lot of thoughts could be resistance. Some people call resistance, like, oh no, don't do that, take the path of less resistance, like this. But that could be considered resistance. So you're right, if there's those kind of thoughts, sure, but
Especially
still,
negative thoughts. I think a lot of negative thoughts have a strong correlation to your ego. I believe there's an ego and then there's your natural thoughts, and we've got to work between the two of them. And I do believe that a lot of the bad thoughts come from your actual ego, because if you look at ego wants to have the better house than your neighbour, the better car than your neighbour, wants to have this, and that, and be unjustified, wants to be depressed, wants to be this and that. Where your natural self says, work for righteousness and spirituality on a
and truth.
holistic value. And if it doesn't work with a holistic manner, I think that's when the ego is talking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think maybe we could be a little tiny different, so that's why it's like we can word it different. But let me express mine real quick. So almost look at it like a castle, a fortress in the mind. Where you're right. Of course, there's gonna be the natural responses, like when you're like, "Oh, go jog this morning. I want you to ride your bike to work instead of the car," and then your inner voice is gonna be like, "Oh no, just take the car. It's too cold out." So, but yeah, but beyond that though, I'm talking a little bit deeper of a sense. Is this concept of context perception? So people want to, they can speak, oh, you're sick, or they could try to diagnose you, oh, you're a schizophrenic, or you're a psycho, or you're a narcissist. Like, people can, based on what their assessment of someone is. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about inner dialogue, because there's a relationship that Rico Roxx is built in the mind here, where it's it's almost like a tactical, logical stance, where it's like, you know what's up, like, you know your life, you know the path you've walked, and like, so you truly would know in this case what is up, versus someone who's just trying to do a quick diagnosis. And I think it's very interesting how that belief system in the mind works. If you start believing, so it's almost like a trust in outer thoughts, like when people's thoughts try to interject with you, whether that be advertisement on TV, school systems, religious figures, scientific figures, health figures, these people feeding you, this is what you are, this is what it is, this is the truth, and this is how things are. So then the mind hears all these things and it says, okay, what is the case? And I'm very passionate about this concept because through all I've been very risky with chemicals and just really wild, very, with seemingly unhealthy lifestyles for many years. And through that, though, through all the seemingly suicidally dangerous lifestyles, I didn't lose this concept of mind, this concept of. So that's why it's like not an egotistical sense, because I don't want to say like thoughts like very egotistical, but even beyond that, an intellectual consciousness of thought, because I think that's what can mess a lot of people up is if you believe you're over the hill, or if you believe you're past peak, or if you believe that you're not good enough, or if you believe that you're gonna get sick instantly, or if you believe your body can't handle it, and you're telling yourself these things, and you truly believe it, like, oh, I'm wounded mentally, I'm wounded physically, versus even if all the outside world says that, if you truly don't believe that, if you don't buy into that, like, sure, that I think it's a very regenerative process in the mind. This concept of belief system and trust in the dialogue, because it's really at the end of the day, it's one of the final check passes you have to get through before something becomes physical. It's your mind really just truly check in with you, like, hey, what's going on here, and like I do it to an ignorant level. Like I refuse to believe that I have, unless it was physical. Like if it was obvious, then maybe I couldn't deny it. Then, like if I was sitting there, like having very physical, like obvious symptoms, but since I don't, I really truly believe there's nothing wrong with me. That I have a healthy mind, even though I've done dangerous things and I do unhealthy things. I feel like by understanding the mind, I could regenerate the mind.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Because you hear people that say, "Oh, I got diagnosed, and I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that. I'm depressed. I got this, I got anxiety, I got this." That to me,
labels.
yeah, the labels.
Mm-hmm.
The world loves to put motherfuckers in a box, man.
That's what I say about Alcoholics Anonymous. Every time you go there, I'm an alcoholic. Same shit. Probably one of the worst things you could do if you're an alcoholic, in my opinion.
Hell yeah. So do you have anything like that? Like what are some of your positive affirmations for yourself? Or are some of your defensive affirmations? Like when the world tries to tell you you're weak, what do you tell yourself?
Oh, well, I don't really get told. I don't really socialise too much, so I don't get the world to tell me too much, apart from probably Podbean. If someone had to say that. But, yeah, I don't listen, mate. I know myself, so I'm strong in myself and balanced. I don't need to hear what people think. The way I look
100%.
at it, I think the best balance too is, would I like to have me as a friend? I think if you analyse that, that's a pretty good balance on things.
What is that? Can you repeat that?
Would I like to have me as a friend? You know, like, would you like to have yourself as a friend? You know, so that's a good way to. I think we need to just turn things off and have a good half an hour meditation on positive affirmations. You know, spend time with our heart and our green energies and things like that, and project these things, and then also analyze. You know, like forgiving, like it. You really got to get to the point of forgiving yourself, you know, I think, in life, and then to be able to forgive others, if you know what I mean, and look at things in a realistic aspect of life. So, and yeah, I don't know where I'm going from here, but I think I'm reaching that point where I just might not have to come back here because I'm getting that balance in my life, if you know what I mean, on those levels of forgiving yourself and moving along, and because you can't just, like, I was drinking for years, and last year I just gave up for 6 months, just stuff this, it's time to do it, man, and just done it, and everyone's going, fucking, how did you do that, you know, and just done it, man, had to be done. Self-reflection, it was a period of time I had to do it, you know, and just bloody done it, man. And we just got to take control of our lives, you know.
100%.
Not be a victim
100%.
all the bloody time. Yeah.
100%.
Be strong.
I'm about that as well. Even when I'm in my highest or my lowest, I do not play victim. Even if I'm doing wonderful, or if I'm fucking, I don't fucking like give credit to like other shit, or if I'm homeless eating out of trash cans, I don't sit there and saying, oh, yeah, I don't play a victim. It's all in the control of decision. I understand that. Like I keep it in that realm of decision and freedom of choice versus like the world is doing me real dirty. Like, nah, it's like I don't like that. I don't like victim mentality. You just gotta. I do believe in resilience, though. I do believe in resilience, like a motherfucker. But you know about that. You're shooting bows and you're training your senses. You're keeping yourself sharp. It's very
That's
good.
right. Keep yourself active as well. Water can stagnate. We are mostly water. So
True.
doing things like Wing Chun, bit of wushu, even if you're not physically adapted to do some sort of, hit my guitar, to do some sort of, aspect of keeping things moving and having something, goals like, weights even, like I'll just sit here during a broadcast and while I'm having a break, I'll just sit here and do some weights. Why not,
Mm.
It's just the way you balance things out, like some people think, oh, you even got to do a broadcast. Doesn't mean you got to sit. You could stand. Little things like that in life that, that can make a huge difference in just being too stagnant. And we've got to move. Get that water flowing, so to speak.
100%. A quote I really love, a phrase, a passage, if you will, is one that I learned from a leader of mine back in the day. And he told me, it says, "A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays at rest."
Mm-hmm.
So it's a powerful concept. So
It's the
stay in
same with
motion.
laughing. We don't grow old and lose our laugh. We grow old because we lose our laugh.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So he is 100%. Gotta stay playful, man. You gotta have fun.
Exactly. Yep. You got to get, like as I said, you got to be on a holistic level, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and eating. We've got to watch what we eat as well.
Yeah,
A lot of
I'm a bit
shit
of a
out
glutton,
there.
which sucks sometimes. Sometimes I overeat.
Do you know anyone with schizophrenia, bloody Rico?
I don't like not a personal buddy or nothing, but I've met so many schizophrenics of different varying degrees in my journey, in my path. I was homeless a couple various times in some cities and just wandering the streets for a couple months or in I've met a lot of schizophrenics and like got to hear
Do
the
you know
dialogues.
wheat can bring that on, man? Wheat. If you took a wheat products, a lot of schizophrenics lose their voices.
That's an interesting one. It's hard to
To
diagnose
wheat.
what causes schizophrenia. That's an interesting one. I think it varies, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a trip though.
Diet.
I've met many schizophrenics, man, and it's very interesting. It's very
Look,
interesting how
look how
they
many
vary.
people go to the store and get all these fat fucking free diet freaking yogurts and all this other shit, and it's all aspartame, which is making them all fat.
Mm.
They go there, have these diet sodas and all this and shit, and it's the complete opposite, man. This world is such an introverted world, man. All this bullshit about, it's sugar free. This, yeah, don't touch nothing sugar free, man. You want fats. You want, brown. Well, you have brown sugars, but you want your fats and cholesterol.
Right, yeah, but sugar,
That's what you
glucose
want.
is not fats. I mean, having fat is good and everything, but you'd much rather have meat fats than glucose.
Of course,
Just high intake of glucose.
Yeah, of course you do.
So yeah, I try to stay away from the overly sugar stuff too. But yeah, I love animal fat and shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. One of the best diets I've heard is high animal fat diets. Then
Oh hell yeah, that shit's really good.
and they lose weight. They actually lose weight, man. You'll be a lean, mean fighting machine just eating meat. You could have a steak and every day, man. And a lot of people underestimate the power of kidneys, livers, entrails,
Oh
and
yeah,
all this.
100%.
First thing a lion goes for, a freaking, they leave the scraps, they leave the meat bits to the, and the other thing is the broth, man, like the inside the bone. You've got to get
Umami.
that out. Most in the cavemans, that's why they were cracking so-called cavemen, 9,000 odd years ago or whatever in caves. they actually had tools to crack, what do you call the frickin' thing? The marrow out of the bone. Marrow
The
is
gristle.
highly important. That's why broths, like 10-hour, 12-hour broths on a fire simming, and you go up and get a bit of soup out of it, Bone
I love
broths,
that. Yeah,
man.
100%,
One of the best
100%.
things. Great in collagen as well. Great for your skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's also eating times as well too. Like if you can't get the kidney and you don't have all the best resources and you live in a country where it's like no hunt, especially in a country with no guns, and you're living around a bunch of bullshit, the next best thing you can do is actually learn how to give your digestive system time to, at least, even if you're eating shit food and all this kind of stuff, then give yourself like a good 12 hours at some point to let your body actually digest the shit and absorb the stuff, instead of just, because the eating window is also another aspect. What you eat and how often you eat.
Well, when you even fast, isn't it amazing? You still shit. So what's that all about? Why are you still shitting when you're fasting?
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
you got a
make
lot of
sense.
buildup in there.
You're not eating. But you're still
Well, it's
having
obviously
shit.
just buildup.
Exactly. Fasting is highly important, man. I'll fast every now and then.
Yeah, dude. I'm doing so bad with that right now. I'm just eating. I'm out of control of my eating right now.
But it's hard. It's hard with a lot of people that are underweight, because all they want to do is at least fucking eat virtually anything, McDonald's.
Well, I don't have that problem. I
I
gain weight fast. I'm not. I could eat a donut and gain 20 pounds.
Yeah. So I've got to eat a lot, man. I've got a huge metabolism. I've got to eat a freaking shitload of food to keep my weight up. Otherwise, I can go thin pretty quick. So, yeah, unfortunately,
I have no problem.
I still fast. But I eat fats off the freaking steak as more than the steak itself if I was going to eat anything, and livers, kidneys, and that. And even over here, it's hard to get them now. Like back in the 70s and 80s, you can get entrails everywhere, And over here now, you're fucking hardly anyone sells them because they're selling them all to China.
Isn't it so weird how we're the only thing that cooks our food, humans? Like every other animal can just eat a fucking animal.
Yeah.
I think that shit is a little fucking messed up, honestly.
Isn't it funny that we cook the red meats, which we can eat raw, apart from pig that has high worm infestations? Yet when we have sushi and that, which is highly riddled in parasites, they eat that raw. Do you know, if you've eaten sushi once or twice in your life, you're probably riddled with parasites just from that freaking sushi?
100%. I don't know about all that, but definitely I could see the concept. Well, it's true. It's interesting. I like cooked meat. I like well done meat, honestly, but at the same time, I do think about how other animals could just eat other animals whole. Like you could just be like a snake will just eat a whole other animal whole. It's like I do think that's pretty cool too. I don't know what the deal is with the cooking thing, but I do love cooked food.
Yeah, I like my steak over, well over. I like a virtually
like more
black on the outside.
Actually
cooked? The more over, the better. I like it.
With over is cooked.
Yep, I take it off for 15 minutes and then reheat your steak. It's amazing because what it does, you cook it really hot and it singes the outsides and it's still pretty red in the inside. But you take it off the this is how professional chefs do it anyway. You take your steak off for 10 to 15 minutes and then recook the steak. Because it cooks on the inside, like a burn, like an egg. Like a burn. They say, how many people get a skin burn, they put it under the water for, 4 or 5 minutes and they think it's great and they go off and they wonder why they got a big blister. Do you know if you get a skin burn, you're supposed to soak that for at least 20 minutes under cool water? Yep, because it's boiling inside, mate. Your all your organisms are, because you got a burn on the outside, it's burning. It's still cooking on the inside. It's the same with meat. That's what I just said. When you take it off the plate and you sit it on the side, it could be red when you do it, but by the time 10 minutes is up, it's cooked through, and then you go cook it back on just to virtually warm it back up. And you've got a nice steak, man, tender steak.
Yeah.
With
I actually have a burn right now I'm dealing with, so it's interesting you mentioned burn. I got burned at work
Oh,
not
you
too
got
long ago.
burned?
Yeah, I got
Do you know
burned out.
one of the best things for a burn is
Mm-hmm.
urine? Urine, man.
Wow.
Yep, urine. Chinese have this. They have this in the ancient provinces. They have this little vat of stale urine because of the euphora. I think they call it euphora or something like that. That comes out of the urine. And about especially 2 weeks, roughly around about that. And what they do, they soak for burns. They will soak cloths in it in the urine, and then wrap it around burns. The best thing for burns, man, to heal a burn. And models use urine as well for modeling for their face. Believe it or not, it's another
Wow.
hidden industry. Yep, urine's fantastic.
Are you speaking
Wow.
of urea?
Talking about piss.
Yeah, urea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, piss.
Yes, urea.
People drink it, man. There's a place all they drink is urine and goat's milk. I think up in the Hindus, there's a certain Hindu tribe or whatever they call it, shamans, and all they do is drink urine pretty much, and I think it's goat milk. That's about it. That's their diet.
Mm.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was just mentioning, I'll get off and let you talk, but when I was listening to Freddie Silva on the one that I got from you versus the one I had, he was talking about that going back 8,000 years BC, they were actually doing out of body experiences. And you've obviously heard this podcast, but it's like, to me, it's absolutely fascinating. And then it goes back to 3,500 where BC and talking about Zoroaster and how they actually had priests that would create like a etheric protective realm around them, and they would be out of body for 3 to 7 days, and then bring them back, and they were actually perfected this. And this is what mankind does not know, is that basically they've been perfecting this out of body experience, which is basically
Yeah,
astral projection, and it's just fascinating because no one knows
yeah.
about the Greek culture, the Egyptian. They'd find
They done that to Lazarus. They done that to Lazarus in the Bible. That's why they were panicking, because after 3 days they think that they could completely die, so they try and bring them back. Some lasted a lot longer, and that's why they were going to Jesus and going, Lazarus is in the tomb. He's not. He's dead, because they thought that the ritual. There was a common 3-day ritual to a couple of days more of that. It was an esoteric thing, so that connects exactly with Lazarus' story of the raising Lazarus from the dead.
but it's no one knows about this. That they had mastered this going back essentially 8,000 years BC, and it was basic for, so they weren't afraid of dying. They already knew about the afterlife and the fourth dimensional etheric realm, and it's like uh, it's just fascinating because all of them were doing this. And then talking about Mithra, which I did research, but the Mithra I found was basically a blood and orgy rituals in Rome, and they're uncovering them beneath Rome now. So it's just like it's not contradictory, but it's like a different aspect of what we've been taught about Mithra. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, but it's I'm only halfway through it, but I wanted to mention that because it's literally spellbinding. Because I traced basically Christ, the missing years. He was in India and working with basically the Brahmins and the Vedics, and that's never reported because we only know about the Christ figure is that he was uh, there's like 12 years that are missing. Well, he was in India, and then I also found that he was entombed in Wales. Anyway, you already know that, but it's fascinating. Over.
Over to you, Rico.
Hello, folks. Make sure you give the show a follow here. This is Rico Roxx, host of a social suicide podcast here on Podbean. I'm joined by SouthOzMan and, of course, Chris Wilson. What a treat it was. I did not expect to get to have a nice dialogue with my colleague here, SouthOzMan.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, thank you.
What it was. What a what a treat it was. What a treat it was. It's really got nice to get to know him. Fucking badass. You're a badass, SouthOzMan, and keep it up, man. And I would love to. I definitely like to get to know you more over the future. And I have to pick your brain more. There's definitely a lot of I wanna. It's very unique characteristics, man. Very unique characteristics. I could go on. I could
Go for it,
ask you
mate.
questions for
Pick me
days.
on anything. Yeah, pick me brain on anything. I've got a lot in there.
100%.
Just don't pickle it.
What about breath work? What when
Mate,
I say
that's
breath
my,
work, what do you think
that's
of?
my liver, not my brain or my kidney.
Poor kidneys, eh?
Yeah, I think.
So what about breath? What about your breath? What's your relationship with your breath like?
Yes, I've done wushu since I was young, mate. I know about breath.
What's wushu?
It's virtually like an ancient form of Wing Chun. Wushu it's called. I studied a book since I was about 11 or 12 called the Power of Wushu by Jeff Pike, and I studied wushu. I nearly went to a academy of kung fu over here in Melbourne it was, but I come very close to joining that. I was always into the ancient arts and studied a lot of esoteric sort of things over the years. So yeah,
100%.
I'm an all-rounder, man. I was nearly involved in lots of stuff, mate. Like,
you ever get into hypnosis?
I tried twice, and it doesn't work for me, man. It doesn't work.
NLP, neuro linguistic programming, that kind of stuff. But but
nothing works for me. Yeah, none of that stuff works.
Oh, I think it's fascinating. I love a little NLP, but the breath work. Would you consider yourself a skilled breather?
Oh, absolutely. I've spent many
So
years.
What are some of your breath counts like? Are you like you do like what's some of your breathing practices, like a long exhale, quick inhale, breath hold? Like,
I just do. No, I do more lower abdomen breathing. Breathing right down to your lower abdomen.
100%.
And doing certain styles, like it's a bit like Tai Chi, I guess you would call it. Yeah,
100%. I love doing stuff like that too. I do. I have
look it up. It's just called Wushu.
I will.
WUSHU. Yeah, I studied that for many years.
Yeah. Oh man, I have a. I'm still a student of breathing. I've mastered exhaling.
It's not exactly martial arts. Yeah.
Right. It's just movement.
What does martial arts mean? You know.
It's art. I mean, it's art. One of the words is art.
That's exactly. Mm-hmm. But I'm not scared of anyone, that's for sure. I'd be the first one to, if there was a fight, I'd just grab them both by the head and pop their heads together. That's the sort of guy I am.
Yeah, see, I'm not like that. I'm very cowardly, but that does not all I am. I'm many things, and I could be the most scared guy in the room, but that doesn't mean I won't override that and turn into the most violent. But I could be honest and upfront here and say that I'm very scared, but I've learned over the years that to not let that become the.
I don't get scared.
I get scared as fuck, but I'm willing to act in the face of fear.
Yeah, I don't get the adrenaline or the scare no more. I just pull people up. If someone come at me with a knife, it's just like, well, you're an idiot. You're about to fucking
try to override the fear with rage, violence.
Yeah, you can't. Once you do that, I have lost it like that, and I don't want to go there again. I don't want to go through losing my shit, man. Because once I lose my shit, that's it.
Exactly. It's a ticking time bomb. But I don't know. I don't know where I get this.
I restrain people now that I'm older. I don't want to fight at all. I hate it. I know what I've nearly done or have done. And I don't want to fight, man. I'm not a man of fighting now. I can restrain people, put them in their locks and lock grips and shit like that, and that's how I work now. I don't want to stand there doing fisticuffs. 50 now.
Right, yeah, I could see that. I would just like to know I can get out of a situation.
I don't want to hit people, man. I don't want to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, 100%. I know what you mean.
Give me a tap. I'm gonna which I've done many a times. I've just said, give me a tap. I'm not gonna hurt you anymore. But if you fuck up,
I'm the same.
You go. Yep. And I'll give
a tap. I love a tap. I love if someone taps. It's done.
Yep. Just say, yep. please, man.
I'm a
Just
wrestler.
chill
I've
out.
done a lot of street wrestling, not fighting.
And
'cause
especially when people are drunk, you know, like you can't just go bashing up your mate because he's drunk and he wants to attack you. Get him in a headlock, take him on the ground, and say, look, man, you know, just think about it for the second that you're in. I'm going to let you go, but if you fucking try and go with me now after this, that's the way I think it's a gentleman fight, you know. Let's put
Yeah,
them in a
it's always
position where
rough
they
when
even
they
be
don't
able
stop
to.
getting up and coming at you.
Yeah, if they do that, then it's just like, well, I'm going to have to knock you out, you know.
You have to just keep knocking them out. It's like, dude, some motherfuckers do not want to stop. Like, it's like they just want to keep coming. They'll lay down for a few minutes and
they break your skull.
exactly. You just got to keep laying them down, I guess. But it's very interesting.
That's why I don't like to be a Podbean cowboy, you know, because it's like, man, you wouldn't. I said to many people that have acted like dickheads, I said, mate, if you fucking come up against me, you wouldn't talk to me like this. So pull your head in. Don't be a dickhead. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I see that. I could definitely see that. But my thing is more like the shallow, the pod being shallow versus the pod being deep. Like I freaking and when it's like for let's say someone's a pod being cowboy because that's a physical sense, but if someone's shallow, that's what I'm like. Man, if like you know what you're dealing with here, like these thoughts and like just like the shallow thoughts and the this petty nature. It's like I think about that in the mental sense, like the mental version of what you just said. It's like where it's like, come on now, like you guys are kidding. Like people when they try
That's
to like
why I don't talk about it
call me
much.
crazy
That's
or
why I
they
don't
try to
talk about it,
say
because I can freaking do it, man.
right. And
You
I
know,
feel the
it's a
same
bit
way
like the
in
person
thought
that talks about
processing.
sex all the time because they're not getting it, you know?
Right. I mean, yeah, some people are fronters for sure, but I don't know. I feel like the profound philosophy wise, so that's where it's like motherfucker want to talk like we would like put like start to try to claim things like oh so you're a liar, oh you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, let's unpack this then. Let's really you want to come, you have to talk to a big boy. You want to talk to a big boy, you got to talk like thought processing and actually perspective. I feel that in the mental sense. So sometimes you're in the pod and you'll get the shallow where it's like they don't want to go deep. It's like, come on.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. I love some well thought out processing and some just open minded dialogue where it's not shallow and it's not offensive and it's not righteous, but it's open though.
Well, that's a bit about me, mate. So, yeah. What do you reckon for a song? You going to play us a song, man? I reckon we need a nice little break.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yes. What a treat it was.
Hey, it's a
What
bit
treat.
of Cypress Hill.
A little bit of Cypress Hill. Oh yeah, well, the show's running out of time here anyway, so
Well, we'll take it out with it.
all right, 1 second here. What kind of music do you like?
Take it out with a freaking song. Oh, I like Slayer mainly. AC/DC, Slayer.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Sepultura.
So I make rap music and stuff like this, but if you're not into rap like that.
Oh, rap. I don't mind a bit of Eminem.
Yeah, that was my first CD. One of my big influences.
What about that one? House. Is it called? House something.
Osman, why don't you pick a song?
Well, no, I'm picking the song, folks. I'm picking the song here. Just give me a second.
I'm just giving him some ideas. So.
No, I'm gonna play. I won't do it tonight, but I want to play some of my songs for you one of these days.
As long as it hasn't got tits and dicks in it, mate, I'm all right. I just don't like it.
Oh, no, 100%. No. My shit's not like that. Yeah. Not all of it. No, hold on, I'm just going through my song list here real quick, folks. Just bear with me a couple seconds. Get it going.
Oh, well, it was good having a conversation with you guys, and I'll catch us on the next episode then.
Yeah, please. You're always welcome. What a interesting guy you are, and I love you. You are the best.
Thanks, Rico. Yeah,
definitely.
Just had a spare moment, so yeah.
I do appreciate you popping in tonight. SouthOzMan, folks. Woo. I'm just picking a song here, folks. You gotta give me 2 seconds.